They set her up as a joke on a blind date, but the single dad CEO Millionaire froze everyone by proposing. The evening air was sharp with December chill as Jenna stepped out of the cab in front of Rosewood Beastro, a cozy little restaurant known for warm lights and even warmer laughter. She clutched her small purse nervously, whispering a reminder to herself. It's just a blind date, one dinner, nothing more. Inside, the room hummed with chatter and clinking glasses. Jenna's stomach twisted. She had been talked into this by coworkers, people who usually ignored her at the office, sometimes mocked her. She knew she didn't fit their glossy world, but tonight, against her better judgment, she had said yes. Her eyes scanned the tables until she spotted a man near the corner booth. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed well but not flashy. Beside him sat a little girl coloring with a purple crayon. Jenna's heart sank. He brought his daughter? On a date? Gathering courage, she approached. "Hi, I'm Jenna," she said softly. The man stood politely, offering a smile. "Brian," he replied. His voice was warm, with the faint tiredness of someone who had carried a lot alone. The little girl looked up and beamed. "I'm Sophie. Want to see my drawing?" Jenna blinked in surprise but leaned down. The crayon picture showed 3 stick figures, 2 tall, 1 small, all holding hands beneath a crooked sun. Scribbled in purple letters were the words, "My family." Something in Jenna cracked open. She smiled despite herself. "That's beautiful, Sophie." Dinner unfolded slowly. Jenna had expected awkwardness, maybe even cruelty, an extension of the office jokes. Instead, she found conversation that felt real. Brian asked about her dreams, not just her job. Sophie chattered about her love of fairy tales and how she thought Jenna looked like a princess. For the first time in months, Jenna felt seen. But reality crashed in the moment she excused herself to the restroom. At a table nearby, she overheard her coworkers, snickering, whispering. The truth spilled out like poison. This had been their prank. The date wasn't meant to be kind. It was supposed to be humiliating. Her chest tightened. She rushed back to the booth, eyes burning. "I should go," she said quickly, fumbling with her coat. Brian frowned. "Did something happen?" She shook her head, voice trembling. I can't do this." Before he could stop her, she slipped out into the night, snowflakes stinging her cheeks. Days passed. Work became unbearable. Whispers followed her in hallways. Vanessa, the ringleader, smirked openly now. "How's Prince Charming and his kid?" she sneered once. Jenna ignored her, but the shame clung like smoke. Then late one night, her phone buzzed with an email. Subject line, "Thank you." It was from Brian. "I don't know what those people told you, but meeting you wasn't a prank for me. My wife passed away 3 years ago. Sophie hasn't smiled like that in a long time, until you sat with us. You owe no explanation, but I needed you to know. You made a difference." Jenna read the message again and again. Tears blurred the screen. Weeks later, fate intervened. At a local library reading event, Jenna spotted a familiar head of curly hair bent over crayons. Sophie looked up and squealed, "Jenna!" She bolted into her arms, as if no time had passed. Brian stood a few steps behind, uncertain but hopeful. "I didn't think I'd see you again," Jenna whispered. "Neither did I," he said softly. "But I'm glad you're here." It was the start of something fragile, cautious yet undeniable. They began seeing each other quietly. Coffee dates that turned into long walks, afternoons at the park with Sophie. Slowly, Jenna's walls lowered. Slowly, Brian's loneliness softened. But the whispers at work never stopped. One morning, Jenna's manager called her in. "Some concerns have been raised," he said carefully, "about you and the CEO." Her head spun. "CEO?" "Yes, Brian Carter. He's the head of Carter Enterprises. Ring a bell?" Jenna froze. "CEO?" Her blind date, the man she had cried in front of, wasn't just a single dad. He was one of the most powerful men in the city. By the end of the day, gossip had spread like wildfire. To some, she was opportunistic. To others, a joke that had gone too far. Vanessa's voice rang out in the break room. "Guess she aimed higher than we thought." Jenna couldn't bear it. She emailed her resignation that night. Brian showed up at her apartment the next morning, snow melting on his coat. "Why didn't you tell me?" Jenna demanded, hurt flashing in her eyes. I wanted you to know me, he said quietly. Not the title, not the money, just me. I can't. She shook her head. I can't live under the microscope, the whispers, the doubt. He stepped closer. Then let me change the story. She blinked. What? But he only kissed her forehead, whispered, trust me, and left. 2 weeks later, Jenna found herself reluctantly attending a charity gala, one she had already promised to volunteer at long before. The ballroom shimmered with lights, but she kept her head down, moving trays and avoiding stares. Midway through the evening, the host called for attention. Brian stepped onto the stage, microphone in hand. Tonight isn't about wealth, he began, voice steady. It's about the people who remind us why we keep going. His gaze found Jenna across the room, and sometimes it's about second chances. Gasps rippled as he walked down the steps and crossed the floor, every eye on him. He stopped before Jenna, heart on display. You walked into my life on a night meant to humiliate you. Instead, you gave me and my daughter something priceless: hope, laughter, family. So I'll ask you now in front of them all, will you marry me? Silence hung heavy. Jenna's breath caught. Whispers swirled, but she saw only him and Sophie peeking from behind the stage, holding a new crayon drawing, this time with 4 figures beneath the sun. Yes, Jenna whispered, tears streaming, yes. The room erupted. Applause thundered. Vanessa's smirk vanished, swallowed by the sound of triumph that wasn't hers. Months later, their home echoed with joy. Jenna tucked Sophie into bed while Brian kissed her cheek in the hallway. Their walls, once bare, now held new photos. Birthdays, laughter, family. The scars of cruelty and loss hadn't vanished, but they had been rewritten by love. All because of a blind date, a purple crayon, and the courage to see each other clearly when no one else did.